Good morning, everyone. At Condor Gold, there's certainly some similarities between Treasury Metals and Condor. And I was just thinking, I guess it wasn't that long ago, Sebastian and I were working in the same office. Treasury was hitting 100 grams over 5 meters in the main zone. You guys were working the Gold Quest discovery, and gold price was a lot higher. So I think hopefully, that was about 5 years ago, I guess, hopefully all the hard work will pay off and we'll be in a better market in the not too distant future. So just a quick recap. For you, I think probably you are very familiar with the Treasury Metals story. It's an Ontario-based gold developer with the pre-fees and advance in the mine permit process. One of the key aspects of the projects is the excellent infrastructure, which I will expand on. Later this year in November, we're expecting to complete and finalize the EIS mine permit process, which will be a great milestone for the company, and I'll expand on that later in the presentation. Also in October, we're going to announce a new resource estimate. It's incorporating an additional 42,000 meters of infill drilling, so I'll expand a bit on that. One key aspect of that resource is our first high-grade inferred shoot outside the main block, and there's also a small resource several kilometers along strike. So I think that speaks to the regional potential of not only our project, but of the district. So I'll expand on that today as well. And then there's also a large bulk sample completed on the project, a 2,300 ton per day bulk sample, and the grade reconciled at about 8 grams. So there is a high grade component to this project. So just quickly, you can see where we are in northwestern Ontario. You've got Red Lake in the left corner, Muscle right in the top right, Rainy on the bottom there. And as you move up the Greenstone Belt, there's a gold rock camp. About a year ago, we acquired a company called Goldeye, and with that acquisition came the Gold Rock project. It's an interesting exploration asset. And as you move further up the belt, we've got our flagship Goliath project, and Gold Lund just to the northeast of us. So there's about 4 million ounces, 43-1 compliant in that portion of the Greenstone Belt, and we think it's strategic with our permit coming in November, which will be granted second quarter next year to have that permit in that portion of the Greenstone Belt. And then in the top of the page, we have the WBG asset. That was the key asset in Goldeye, and there's some presentations at the back of the room, and you can see some of the results that have come out recently on that. There's about 20 holes. It's an early stage open pit project and some fantastic results if you look in the technical appendix. So as mentioned, one of the key aspects of the project is the infrastructure. You can see here, there's our 50 kilometer project package. There's the Trans-Canada Highway directly below the open pit. There's a paved road from the highway to the open pit. You can see the power line running just to the northeast of the pit, and that runs to Dryden and then powers Red Lake. There you can see there's hydro, gas, rail, and then there's a community called Dryden, which anyone that knows Northern Ontario knows that's a hub for the district. So there's a lot of services and mining services. There's a college for First Nations training, hospitals. So it's quite an attractive location in terms we also don't have to build a camp for the employees. So just quickly a bit about myself. I've been involved with the company for over 5 years now, and I've led most of the financings. We've raised about $50 million to advance the drilling, permitting, and engineering. My colleague Mark Wheeler's here. If anyone wants to speak with Mark, he's heading up the EIS and engineering for us. So it's a good opportunity to get an update from him. Also, Bill Fisher, our lead director, does a great job on the board. He's here. He's presenting Gold Quest a little later on. And Mark Henderson, the founder of the company. And Mark's the CEO of Laramide. And as a bit of a side note, about a year ago, Laramide did a unique acquisition, well-timed, and now it's great for shareholders to see that sector working. It's a uranium project in New Mexico, and I think that's something that Treasury should look at doing, is consolidating that district while the prices are attractive. In terms of our share count, 136 million shares issued. Insiders own 13%. We're covered by Haywood and PI. We've got a large European shareholder base. Over 30% of our stock is held in Switzerland with a number of family offices there. And we've got a growing shareholder base of institutions in the US, about 15% there. and then the balance is institutions in Canada, retail brokers, and retail investors. We have about a 50 million market cap. So I won't spend a lot of time on the valuation, but with all the de-risking we've done in terms of the drilling, the engineering, our permit coming, in this type of jurisdiction with this infrastructure and regional opportunities, we shouldn't be trading at $25 an ounce, so it is quite an interesting opportunity. And just quickly on the PEA, what that envisioned was an open pit starting in year 1. By year 3, it had the underground mine ramped up, and it produced on average of 90,000 ounces for about a 13-year period. We're doing a lot more advanced engineering now in-house with our new resource, and that's several months away in terms of completing that. So that's, obviously is going to change as we advance the detailed engineering and pre-feas level capital costs and mine life and that. So just quickly on the project, this is a rendering for the EIS process to give the community an idea of what the open pit looks like. So you can see that the portal for the underground goes just on the east side of the pit, and which is interesting. That new chute we defined in our recent drilling is just to the east of that portal. On the community stuff, I won't get too much detail here, but we started over 3 years ago with a project description. Our lead consultant, AMEC, and our technical team have worked with the government quite closely to get the EIS to conform with their standards in May of this year, and we're hoping to come out of that in November, which would be a great milestone for us. And what that means, then there's approximately 6 months of time left for the government to grant the permit in Q1, Q2. And obviously that's important in terms of other discussions we'll have in terms of project financing or other corporate options we'll consider at that time. So we have the new resource coming out in a few weeks. As mentioned, it incorporates another 42,000 meters of infill drilling. You're not going to see a material change in the size, but the overall confidence looks great in terms of the improvement in the underground grade in particular. There's a smaller pit, so the stripping ratios dropped down, and the whole conversion exercise was quite successful. And there's that chute just to the east. That's the new chute. That's some of the new inferred ounces we added, so we were quite happy to see that. And you'll see now there's 5 chutes, steeply dipping chutes, that are all open at depth. And if you look at the resource, there is a higher grade component in the long sections are in the technical appendix. And if you increase the cutoff, there's quite a high grade mineable ounces in the main central and main east. Somewhere around 900,000 ounces at 7.5 grams are in the ore body, mainly in the main central and main east. So that's quite an interesting aspect of the project. And if we do additional drilling going forward, one key area will be extending those chutes further down at depth, and that's where we think we can add additional mine life quite easy. And then the regional opportunities, when earlier this summer we were defining that chute just to the east, and we had a small about 10,000 meter drill program. Some of that was doing condemnation results, and we hit gold in every hole in the program, not necessarily mining widths and grade, but there is some attractive results, and you can see some of the better numbers listed on the page there. I can't quite read that. 4 meters over 11 grams. 7 meters over 4 grams, and you'll notice too, 10 kilometers east of the open pit, we had a 6-hole program out there, and one of the holes hit 2 meters over 2.46 grams. And then that project, and then the project extends up to the Gold Lund project, as mentioned. It's about 16 kilometers northeast of us as the crow flies, and that combined, that would be a 4 million ounce deposit with our permit coming is quite interesting. So I won't get too detailed on the engineering, but we're quite busy looking at pre-feas costing, feasibility costing. We're incorporating all that additional 42,000 meters and the new resource into our model. We're doing all this in-house. We've hired some key employees recently that are doing that work, a permitting person, as well as a resource engineer, modeling person. And that's helping a couple things. It's giving us an idea of how the economics look from the additional drilling, and as well it's helping define where additional drilling should be, and that's partly the reason we made the decision to continue drilling at depth to add those high-grade ounces. And again, anyone can speak to Mark about some of the capital costing and other trade-off studies we're working on. So just to wrap things up, as mentioned, we have a resource coming out. EIS should be accepted in November. Those are the two key items we're trying to complete this year. And obviously we're looking at other exploration strategies. We're doing a soil sample program across the entire regional area. We're also doing a deep hole IP program to get ready for those deeper drill results. And then that would lead us to next year, where we'd complete the federal permits, the feasibility study, and then we'll take a look at our options in terms of what we do from there in terms of consolidation, project finance opportunities, and as well as for potential sale opportunities as well. So I think I'll leave it at that. If there's any questions, if not, I'll be around the conference for the next day. Save you a few minutes.